music, bro.
All right. So we back. New episode of Just Landed. The Jetsetters edition, man. I got a special guest on here today, man. Man, y'all gonna be surprised to see who I got on here, man. Let them know who you are, man.
Shonta. They call me Shonta On The Track. I just say I'm a dude.
Man, the legendary Shonta On The Track, man. Look, before we even get to it, man, give them the resume, man. Give them the resume, what they might recognize.
I've been around for a long time. I'm not young, right? So I'm in my 50s, mid-50s. I've been around since the 80s, doing work from people like Kuiper all the way up to Bootsy at Trill and things like that. Of course, I bounced back out of it, right, doing that Trill thing and everything. But, there's something we could talk about if you want to know what happened there. But
yeah, we'll get to that, man. We're going to touch on a lot, man. And you got so much history. I'm going to try to go ahead and lock you in for part 2, man. You know what I'm saying? But we're going to get it in for this first one for sure.
For sure.
So look, man, tell me too how you got started in the music, bro. Like, where did it stem from? Where did it come from?
So everybody in my family are musicians. My father was a drum major at Southern University. As a matter of fact, he was the one who first started bending all the way backwards and touching his hat on the ground.
Yeah.
So his name was Herman Stewart back in the time. So if you want to check that out, look that up. But yeah,
that's legendary HBCUs in general, man.
Yeah,
you know what
so
I'm saying?
he did that. I have an uncle who taught at Berkeley, music as well. All of my grandmother plays piano. So everybody in my family were musicians. Mm-hmm. And I ended up, my father bought me a trumpet when I was a kid, like 7 years old. Bought me a trumpet because he played trumpet. So he tried to teach me how to play trumpet. And it was okay, but I started taking to it later on, like by age 10, 12, I started taking to it. And he said, look, if you can get really good at it, I'll buy you a brand new one. So he ended up buying me a Stradivarius, a very nice silver trumpet. And back in the days, the school that was kind of hard to get in back then was Southern Lab. You had to have some kind of talent, or you were super smart or something, sports. I got into Southern Lab playing my horn.
Yeah.
The guy that brought me in at the time was Mr. Knighton. He was the band director at Southern Lab. Of course, he went on to be the band director at Southern University later, but he was Southern Lab's band director. So I went in under Mr. Knighton, and I just fell in love with doing music. I felt like I had a knack for it. So my dad decided he was gonna, he saw what I was into, so he started buying me stuff like recorders and different things you can make music with, make songs with, keyboards and stuff like that. And this is the condensed version of it. It's a lot more to that, but my father saw how much I loved music, so he invested in stuff, at an early age for me, and I just took off from there.
Okay. So let me ask you this. When was it that you started getting into the full-blown production? Meaning making the tracks, making the beats, and working with other artists. Like, where did that stem from? Where did that start?
So I started making tracks long before I started working with artists. I didn't even think about putting anybody on the tracks. But my ex-wife, who was my wife then, she had a friend who was a singer or wanted to be a singer. And so I wrote this song. She sung it. It sounded nice. I ended up going to Florida to meet with some management company called Cooley Strickland. This is in the 80s, early 80s.
Yeah.
And I got some documentation from Cooley Strickland. They wanted to work with me with that song and that girl that I had on it. Well, when I got back to Louisiana, I went by her house and I found out that she was in the hospital. So I said, okay, I didn't think nothing much of it. I went on and waited for the next day thinking she was gonna get back, and I found out she actually died. So that killed that whole deal. The next time I was even remotely close to doing any kind of music with a person is when I bumped into Nero. That was it. Bumped in Nero.
So what happened from there? Like how that?
Yeah, so I was actually, so we was living in Glen Oaks at the time, right? I'm on East Upland. And Nero and I think it might have been Tron. They was just walking down the street, walking in front of my house. And Tron, I knew Tron, so he kind of introduced me to Nero, and we got to talking, and I'm asking him, so what you do? You know, he said, I rap. So I know I had some stuff in the house that I could, you know, whip up a beat with. So I was like, well, shit, come on in. Let's see if we could make some music or something. So he come in the house, and I mean, we ain't had no microphone, but he took the headphones and started rapping in the headphones. We plugged the headphones up like a microphone.
Yeah.
And we started making songs. He had some very eccentric ideas about this music too.
Yeah, give me an idea. What's something that stands out?
So you probably heard some of the stuff that did come out with Baton Rouge Mac and all that stuff.
Yeah.
This dude had a song called "Stick in the Mud," and it was crazy because, you know, he would come. He was at the house and he was like, "Well, I got this song I want to make," and I'm like, "So give me the hook, you know, because I like to work off that. You tell me your hook, and I'm gonna go ahead and start hooking something up to go with it, right?" And he started pointing at the floor and stirring like he got a stick in his hand, and he's like, "Stick in the mud, stick in the mud." I'm like, "Dude, are you serious right now?" He said, "I'm telling you, this is gonna be big. Stick in the mud."
Yeah.
Dude, we did not do that song, bro. I left that one out. Like, we ain't gonna be able to do "Stick in the Mud," bro.
Yeah.
You're killing me.
So look, from a producer standpoint, you said something. I'm gonna ask you a question. What you prefer? To make a beat from scratch or have vocals already and make a beat around the vocals?
I prefer to have vocals or have an idea, and that's because when I make music, my goal is to support the artist. I don't want to be the spotlight. What I want is to pour this sound around that artist, hold that artist up. So if you give me what you know, your direction, where you want to go, I'm going to build a foundation up under it and hold that up. I don't want to go too hard to where I'm overstepping, because at the end of the day, man, the star is the artist, not me. I'm the background player. I'm just supporting that, you know? Make sure it's look good, make sure it sound good, and it comes off with the right energy. That's pretty much what my job is.
So let me ask you this. How you feel about this? Do you feel like it kind of hinder these artists now where they just get beats off an internet page or off YouTube or, you know, just sent to them, rather than actually sit down with a producer and kind of make the music from there?
So there is an advantage of having material custom made for you. You know what I mean? Yeah. It doesn't mean that you can't do a great record, just, you know, by getting a beat from off the internet and just hooking something up or whatever. But it's always better when you can have a customized situation. I mean, you would much rather have someone detail your vehicle as opposed to run it through a car wash.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the analogy to that. So that details are always going to be shinier, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that make a whole lot of sense. So look, back to your history, Nero. After Nero, what kind of came after working with Nero?
Oh, so Nero, I worked with a lot of different artists that didn't really put nothing out, because I was doing a lot of engineering at the time. So a lot of people say, okay, Shonta is a producer or super producer, Shonta, whatever. The way I see it, I am an engineer that produces, not a producer that engineers. So engineer is like first and foremost, you know, where I came from. Production came, you know, as a result of just trying to put things together and do different things. As a matter of fact, when I signed or I hooked up with Money and Power, the whole purpose of me going to Money and Power was to engineer, not necessarily to produce. The production was just something extra or something that came with it, but I was hired for engineering purposes.
Okay. So let me ask you this. This is my observation. You tell me if you agree with it. I feel like a lot of producers engineer because they need the money, because production money don't come as fast as engineering money.
That may be the case. I don't follow a whole lot of other guys, but I can imagine that being the case.
Yeah.
You know, because I know I did better, especially back in the days and where I came from, where publishing was being jacked all the time. You wasn't, you know what I mean? You wasn't getting paid for what you did, and so engineering was something that you just can't get around. You're gonna have to have someone do that, and you're gonna pay them for it. So that's kind of how that. I guess that's probably why producers get more and more into that part of it.
Yeah.
And then doing your own record, it's better if you can mix and master, or even mix. I wouldn't suggest you mix and master, but if you can mix, or you can take care of automation, a lot of that has a lot to do with the way the song is going to come out too. So it's more than just the beat itself, it's how that beat is manipulated and how the energy is distributed with the sound based on the mix. So we got a lot of songs that you can hear the song and like it, but then hear it after it's mixed and be like, that's another whole song now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I see that all the time.
Yeah.
I feel like that mix a lot of times will make or break your record.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's one of the. It's more important than almost anything. You can have a song that just a beat, simple beat, pretty decent rhymes, but the quality of it is so fire till it's a hit record.
Yeah.
Like in the club, simple beat.
Yeah. That Dr. Dre mix on it take it to another level.
That's the thing though. Dr. Dre don't mix.
Yeah.
He hired people like me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we're gonna keep it real, we don't even know how much he really produced.
Right. That's how that works.
Yeah. He executive produced.
Right.
Yeah. So look, I want to get back into the history, but man, you dropped so much knowledge, and I got a question for you that I want to drop in there.
What you got?
There's a lot of debate about publishing and what a producer should get or what he should deserve in reference to that. What's your take on what a producer should get when it comes to publishing?
So, to answer that question, we need to first understand what a producer is, because publishing is designed for creators, not designed for companies and all that stuff. Writers publishing is for a person that writes. When you get into compositions, when you design audio, that's what that's for. You don't simply get publishing because you own this company or this, that, and the other. At the same time, you do not have to write any music to be a producer. So it's a gray area. It's more of when you talk about producers, you almost have to break that down into subcategories and talk about, are you a producer and the composer, or just the producer?
Yeah.
Because when you fill out the forms for copyrights, they don't have the word producer nowhere.
Yeah.
They have writer and composer.
Yeah.
That's it. So production is generally, if you have a production contract, you're going to be dealing with mechanical royalties. And the mechanical royalties is stuff for the individuals that's putting it out there or physically getting the product from A to C or whatever. But then when you get into regular music publishing or writers, then if the producer is writing music, performing music and writing is two different things though. If they're writing the music, then they should get publishing.
So let me make sure to specify and make sure it's clear. When you say writing the music, you don't feel like, I guess, composing the beat is technically writing the music?
It is.
Yeah.
Creating the composition or composing and writing, they go hand in hand. Okay. So if you're a composer, then publishing is for you. It's designed for you.
So I'm going to take it a step further now. What about if you're sampling?
Well, that's easy. If you sample my beat and you got it on your record, who composed that? You or me?
The person that made. Well, I mean, technically both, because
the entire beat is not composed by one person.
Yeah.
So now you start splitting
it up. Yeah.
That's when you say, okay, some of this needs to go to the person who composed this much of it, and some needs to go to the person that composed this other amount.
So I got a great question for you.
Mm-hmm.
You done made a lot of classes where people then came back and sampled a lot of your music. Do you feel like they need to go back and adjust their publishing and include you on that?
I feel like if they want to do the right thing, that'd be the way to go.
Yeah.
But I have gotten several calls by many people, even one as recent as 2 days ago, concerning something that I've done, and they was reaching out to me to try to get, my blessing and the paperwork, right? Because the blessing is one thing, but they're going to need that paperwork. To go ahead and release what they want to release. And generally, they'll make the song first, they'll send it to me, and, if I feel like it's not something that represents my work poorly, then we'll work something out, and then basically it's just a percentage split on publishing.
Yeah, well, I might need to be reaching out to you soon, because,
Come on with it.
Yeah.
Come on with it.
So look, I'm gonna touch back into the history. We talked about Nero and we talked about engineering some guys. So what kind of led from there?
After Nero, I ended up working with. Can I say names? Or?
Yeah, man.
Okay,
man,
so I ended up
using my show raw and uncut, man.
Okay.
So if you want to use profanity, whatever,
I
you can do
you.
it.
So I ended up working with a group of guys, Inch, Greg Dukes, Avery, some guys that I know people around way, and at least from back in the day, is gonna know these names. They ended up putting together a studio called 360. And there again, they called me over for my engineering skills, not really for production. So I was engineering over there, and I designed. So I majored in architecture when I was in college. So I designed,
put the layout together.
Yeah, and then go build stuff. So I ended up working over there, and I met this guy named Kevin. He called himself KE. And he said that he was going to be getting back in touch. He's going to get back with me in about a month. He wanted to do an album. And he said, but he don't want to do it at that studio. So he told me to send him a list of everything that I need to work on, and he's going to buy it and put it in his house. And I just go work at his house. So I did that. I was working with Kevin, and he also hired Night Prince to help out too. Night Prince with DJ back in the day. So me and KE, we worked on this song, the album actually, and I think it was entitled KE of the Dark Side or something like that. And he had gotten some stuff on the radio, and I think he was talking to some folks in Texas, and he's getting ready to, start moving forward, but he ended up getting murdered actually at his house on the night that I was supposed to be there, but something came up and I couldn't make it. And I called and said, I can't make it. I get a call, 2 a.m. from my girlfriend at the time telling me that Kevin was shot. So kind of how that went down. But we went from Kevin to the next, just constantly doing some things. But eventually it got to the point to where I was just, what they call them, starving artists. I needed to make some money.
So you was working with everybody that had the money.
Just getting where I can, work with anybody. And my thing is, I'm very discreet about stuff. So I've always been that way. So a lot of people would work with me because they knew that they could work with me, and anything that I might be privy to doing that interaction,
stay with you.
It'll never come back around. So with that, let's face it, I was at the time the most expensive guy you could hire to produce. So it wasn't just anybody paying me. You had to have money.
I knew
so
that.
I ended up dealing with only people that had a lot of money, if you know what I'm saying.
I understand that, because I was one of them guys. I didn't have the money to work with you. I was young back then, so I had to get my bread up. I'm older now. I can get with you, but back then,
Yeah, but I'm not even requiring it no more. It's not even the same anymore, man. We could do this thing with publishing stuff now, and leasing and all that. The whole game is different. What I used to charge back in the days, it'd be real tough to do that now for a producer.
But you know what? As I've gotten older, though, I understood why you charge what you charge, because but so much paperwork getting messed up, and you got to get your money up front.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
I understand it completely. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, it took a lot. It took a lot to stay, not just stay alive, but to keep up with your acts. Like you had to, you know, this instruments, the software stuff wasn't free. You know, it's cheap now. It wasn't cheap then at that point. You know, you had to have money to get this stuff. You know, $2,500 for a keyboard, and you know, instead of $300 for a program.
Yeah.
That's got 10 times the sounds the keyboard had for $2,500.
You know, back then it was all about that Phantom, Triton, and motif.
That was it. Those the three.
Yeah.
That was what was going on back then.
If you had them, man, you was set, but it cost you a pretty penny. And
Yeah,
then if
you
you had
was
an
gonna pay for
MPC
it.
to go with that, you know.
Yeah, you was gonna pay for it, and then you had to have a little bit of a skill set to go with that too.
Yeah, you had to learn that keyboard.
Right. Right. You wasn't gonna press a button and then a beat spit out.
Yeah.
And then you just get on top of it. So nah, it don't work like that.
Yeah. Do you feel like that's part of the reason why a lot of y'all music from back then's being duplicated, and why a lot of them can't necessarily replicate it?
Yeah. So doing stuff with software is not gonna lock up apples and apples with dealing hardware stuff, right? So that's not gonna happen. We're not there yet. The technology is getting better and better, and it's almost there, but we're not all the way there yet. But because of the technology, I think people just getting lazy. It's made it to where, I mean, you don't have to go into music theory. You don't have to actually learn how to play a piano. You don't have to know how to play a guitar.
Yeah, it's tutorials now on how to make a certain kind of beat.
Yeah, you just get a MIDI information and insert it into your program, your DAW, and put a sound with it, and you got something. You got something. You know what I mean? And it's amazing because it's taken away from the creativity that a person has inside of them. They're just following with whatever they hear. Oh, I like this. Let's roll with that. You know, did you make that beat? Yeah, I made that beat.
Nah, whoever made that MIDI composed that for you. You didn't make that beat.
Damn thing.
Yeah.
You put these two things together.
You're a surgeon.
Right. That would be a producer.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I had this argument as well. You tell me what you think. There's a difference between a producer and a beat maker.
Sure.
Yeah. So you agree with that?
Yeah.
Because I feel like some people make beats, but they're not producers.
Correct.
They can't help a record besides making that beat.
Right.
While some producers will go in and literally tweak, tell the artist they need to do this, they need to do that.
They do that.
Yeah.
They do that. So, and it's even bigger than that. It goes further than that. So the word stems from the word produce, right? Yeah. So to produce something, for example, if you got an apple tree and there's no apples on it, you can't say that it's producing apples.
Yeah.
So to produce is to bring about a final product.
Yeah.
That means the engineering, everything. You have to be able to get it to where
you gotta go through all the steps.
Yeah, all the steps.
Yeah.
If you make the beat, that is a composer.
So let me ask you this: how you feel about this? Because this is my opinion. You tell me what you think. When I make beats, I don't make beats for a whole lot of people because I kind of treat my beats like my children in a way. That's something I took time to create and make, and I gotta walk the whole process through. So if I don't like the record, you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna be really upset with that.
Yeah.
So like, instead I'll work with who I want to work with and walk through that whole process with them.
Right.
Do you feel the same way, or do you feel like it's tracks you've done where I'm just making the beat, making the cell, you do what you want to do with it?
No. Typically, I don't do that. Typically, I don't make tracks in advance anyway.
Yeah.
Normally, if you get a track from me, it's because you and I done sat down and it's got put together alongside of you or with you, or we collaborate because, again, I need to get your ideas. I'm trying to support you.
Yeah.
You just getting on my beats. I mean, that's a plastic way of putting it together, you know?
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you can't win. It just means there's no personal and customizing touch to that.
No chemistry there.
Yeah, no chemistry.
It's like a pickup game of basketball. You can win with some guys, but there ain't no chemistry there.
Right, and I think that may be a double-edged sword because it seems, as I look back in history, whenever I'm working with an artist and it starts to move, it moves. As long as I'm working with them. If I'm no longer working with them, something goes south.
Yeah.
in just about everybody that I've worked with. And I think it's because chemistry keeps getting built. Every time I work with somebody, I get into that person's mindset and how they feel. When I did Jackie Neal's album, when I did Stephanie McDee's album, I literally went in clubs and sat in Southern Soul or blues clubs and listened to blues and watched the people dance to see what frequencies made them move.
So let me ask you this, with you being such a pioneer in that jig movement, especially from the production end, what put you in that mind state to make them kind of beats?
So, like I was saying earlier, I was a trumpet player.
Yeah.
And I played in a band, Southern Labs band, Southern University, you know, so I'm in a band, I'm marching band type style. So I was always biased to using horns and stuff like that, because that's what when I first was introduced to music, that's the sound that resonated with me the most, you know. I was a trumpet player, so if I could make something out of horns, I did it.
Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, I always felt like those tracks with those horns were like attention grabbers. Like the moment the beat come on.
Yeah, it seems like it did. And at the time of me doing stuff with the horns, I wasn't really thinking that far into it. I just like to do horns, but I noticed that, people definitely get into that horn sound, you know, because it sounds like festive, you know, and energy is up.
Yeah, so I guess moving forward, we're going to kind of double back and spin around with your career.
Hey guys, if you love that episode at I Got Drinks, you definitely need to come check out our I Got Drink mixers, which my favorite is the margarita.
I have classic daiquiri, and I have old-fashioned premium cocktails.
And coming soon, we will be making these on the show, so check these out, and we are going to give our honest opinions on them. But I'm already a fan, so
get these and make sure to view more episodes of I Got Drink at the Antidote Network on YouTube, Roku TV, Fire TV, and Apple TV.
And Amazon.
What's up, y'all? This your girl Slim Too Bad. And when I tell y'all it's about Chiana, hitting. So good, y'all. I don't want to put this down. So now I'm about to try this boudin egg roll. First time trying it, let me see. You're going to get my pure reaction from it. If you like boudins, you're going to really like this. Shout out to the people for the egg roll boudins and the hibachiana. Slim Too Bad, checking out, baby. I'm about to go eat.
That goes, right? So if we was to speak English to somebody back in time that came from 400 years ago, we wouldn't understand what the fuck they say. Language changes over time. And over time, it seems like we've gotten away from understanding the difference between creating and producing, or composing and producing. And we keep putting those things together. So when we say producer, first thing in our head is somebody sitting at a keyboard or a drum machine doing some shit.
Not the person
that's got that person doing that shit on that drum machine. That is the producer. The person who put that person on them. Now, the way you negotiate is the way you negotiate. That person that's putting them licks on that drum machine can say, give me $1,000 for doing this for you.
Yeah, because it might be the caliber of the person.
Right. Or give me a percentage of the record, i.e. publishing. You know, and that's something that's discussed between them too. And you're right. It has a lot to do with the caliber of the person. You know, you might get somebody who is top level person. Well, with that top level person, that has a brand that goes with them.
The fact that they did that,
right? Just the fact that person is involved with it generates revenue. Well, how you gonna? What's the number you gonna give him? You gonna ask for something ridiculous?
You gonna either want a whole lot of money off top, or you gonna want that back.
Right. Terry Lewis and Jimmy Jam, when they did that first record for Michael Jackson's sister, they charged $1 million for that. They paid them boys $1 million.
It was worth it at the time.
It was worth it at the time. People was buying records. You know what I mean? They made so much money doing that. But yeah, we get it twisted, you know, and that's because we've lost the sense of history, and that's also making it hard for producers to get the sound that they're looking for. And it's not really something that is bad on them. I'm in my 50s. When I first started doing music, I was recording on tape that big, 2-inch tape.
Yeah.
Big machines that was $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a piece with a big reel-to-reel on them, and you had to hook 2 of them together to just have 48 tracks.
Yeah.
That machine sounds a certain kind of way. When they came up with Pro Tools, Nuendo, Cubase, Cakewalk, Logic, all of the DAWs that they use are designed to emulate that tape machine.
Yeah.
But
there's a reason why that analog and digital sound different.
Right. But here's the catch. If you never heard what that tape machine sound like, how in the hell you gonna be able to make your DAW sound like something and you don't know what it's supposed to sound like?
Yeah.
That's where being older and coming up through the ranks, you have to teach other people for them to know, because they didn't hear it. They don't know what that's supposed to sound like. So they go to messing with compressors and knobs and stuff, thinking that what they hearing sounds good.
Yeah.
You know, obviously what sounds good is based on the perception of the person who's listening to it.
Yeah.
But if you want to sound like tape, like it was supposed to sound like, based on the people that design the programs, a lot of people be off the mark.
Yeah. You think that's why it's so crucial to make sure you pick the right person to mix your music?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like some people think, man, he mix, he charged $50, let's pay him. But
yeah, a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
You know, I would love to, if he was doing well, I'll tell you what, I'll hire him. He can mix for me.
Yeah.
I'll do that. I'll work that deal out. But, I've once had another engineer. I guess he was a little annoyed with me. A lot of people will record all over, different places, but then they'll tell them to send the recording to me to mix it. And this is all over town, several times, not just this time. And I did get some flack. One of the engineers was like, you know, well, I could mix it and I could get it done in an hour. So they said, nah, Shonta gonna do it, you know. And he asked how much I was charging him, and I guess the guy told him what I was charging. And the engineer told this dude, man, Shonta ripping you off. It don't take but an hour to mix this song.
Yeah, but you getting an hour, it's a whole different level of quality though.
It's not the same. Yeah, I don't mix in an hour.
Look, I just had that situation, man, where I recorded at one studio.
Yeah.
And I told him, well, look, I don't need you to mix it. I got my guy who gonna mix it. And he asked, like, man, how much your guy mix? I told him the price. He like, man, I can mix that for such and such, and it's only gonna take me about an hour.
Right.
And I was just like, bro, I've been doing this too long, to where it's like, I know what I'm looking for. I know what I want. So, you know what I'm saying? There ain't no steering me away from working with who I'm gonna work with, because once you have a certain level of quality mixing, you gotta hold on to that.
On it. Yeah. That ain't what's up. Yeah. Generally, about 6 hours I can mix a song.
Yeah.
Typically. Depends on how many moving parts, you know, what's going on.
So what's the thing you dislike the most when it comes to, what's your pet peeve when you get a session from somebody?
Oh my goodness, man. First of all, it depends on what we're talking about, because I got 2 whole sets of this shit. If I'm mixing, I got this. I don't like when I get files that's all over the place. They done in like 44.1, 16-bit, and all that. I'm like, come on, man, we could do better. But being all over the place and a lot of noise in the background, a lot of edits that's not done correctly where you can hear, and stuff's cut off where it gets to the point to where I'm taking syllables off words to put on other words to make the word right.
Yeah, which a lot of people who mix don't even take it that far. Like they don't even.
But then they ain't gonna charge what I charge.
Yeah.
So you gotta, it's relative, right?
Yeah.
You can get the hand wash, or you can go through the thing.
Yeah.
It's the detail gonna always hit you harder, but it's
worth it.
It's gonna be different when you step
want to
in
look
your
good.
ride. Yeah. We're gonna wash out the bottom of this motherfucker. We ain't gonna just spray the top of it too.
Yeah.
Wash where you can't even see it.
For real.
So, yeah, it's definitely that. But when I get to mastering, my biggest thing, oh my God, I think everybody that masters biggest
Too
thing.
loud.
Two things now, because you brought that up. Everybody that send me stuff to master, they try to master it already themselves. They want to make their songs loud. They stay in this thing where they want to do this psychologically. It's better if it's louder, right?
Yeah.
So they keep trying to push it, and I get something that's distorted. I have no headroom, and it's just you're not ready for mastering. At that point, you just need to
might
start
as well say
over.
this is the master.
Yeah, this is your sound. You know what I mean? As far as I'm concerned, if you're gonna send something to me to master, don't try to make it loud. I promise you, you're not gonna be able to make it louder than me. And I'm gonna have it clear and loud, dynamic range intact and loud. And MP3s, I'm gonna kick it back to you. You send me MP3, I'm just gonna say, hey man, I'm waiting on the file. I'm not mastering MP3, that's ridiculous. Other than that, that's about it.
Yeah. So look, I appreciate a lot of that game you dropped on us, because that might help a lot of young engineers when they hear this, or people who send the sessions out, or etc.
Yeah, MP3 is for the end user. That's not what we don't operate in that realm as professionals. We operate in a higher HD realm. MP3 is for consumers.
Yeah.
So when I get that, that's telling me this is your song you about to release. You've already done everything you want to do to it.
Yeah. So look, once again, I'm gonna spin back on your history. Money and Power Records. Tell me about your time with Money and Power.
Money and Power was probably the most intense, concentrated time musically that I had in my life. So as I go through life, I've done music here and there, and for this person, for that person. But once I got, deeply involved, I'm gonna say, with Money and Power, that was when I had the most, like I was putting songs together more. It was a lot more activity. It was more artists. So I went from dealing with this one artist that wants me to do something, and that one artist later on wants me to do something, to now here's a group of people and they all want to do music. And they all have their own different styles, their own different swag, and they come in different ways, you know? Yeah. So it would push me in different areas psychologically when I come to creativity and stuff like that. And luckily we had other people around, like Howard, KO, X-Files was around, and which, we could
bounce ideas.
Yeah, we could kind of go where I wasn't taking the whole hit, he wasn't taking the whole hit, but it was what got me prepared to actually sign the next deal, which was with Roy Jones, where I had that same similar thing. But that was the first time that I was involved with a group that I'm dealing with different stuff for, and learning at the same time, because I was learning while trying to put stuff together, constantly trying to keep the skills going and improving on this, that, and the other, to get the sound as good as we can get it, because what I did not want is for anything to come out not sounding sonically correct.
So look, I got a question for you in reference to that. Working with an artist like Sam I Am, which his voice is like kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
Was it hard mixing his records?
Yes. Yes, it was extremely fucking difficult to mix Sam I Am's records. Yeah. His voice, not only was it raspy, he was fast, a lot of syllables packed in a short time frame, and you sometimes wouldn't quite understand all of the words. So as a producer, I'm trying to make sure his words are being heard. And keep in mind, I'm still with this. I'm supposed to lift up this artist. I'm supposed to make this artist come to life. But if you got to understand what the fuck he's saying, he's going on and on and on. And everybody liked his sound. They liked his voice. People took to him. But to put it together, it was a lot of work. It was a lot of head scratching to try to get get him to say, get him to be intelligible, put it that way.
Yeah.
You know, make it to where people can understand what he's saying. Because he was saying some fire shit. But a lot of times you just was into the groove of it because you didn't know what the hell he was saying. But the groove was enough to keep you moving until you catch on to whatever he's saying later down the road, you know? That's the reason why I think it's funny because whenever they play that song Jiggling, nobody says a damn thing until D-So says Jiggling. So, and then everybody, they'll say that with him. Because they can't say that shit Sam saying.
Yeah.
I can't say it.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah, so let me ask you this. Tell me about the hit records that you had your hands in while you was at Money and Power.
So that's the funny thing about Money and Power, man. What I would, and the way I'm going to describe hit record, because you asked about the hit records.
Yeah, well look, let's do this too. Hit and your favorite records.
Right. So in my opinion, if the marketing that Jive does, or the marketing that some of these other major companies do, would have been available, then every single song on that album would have been a hit.
Yeah.
Every one of them.
When you reference the hit, you mean which one, The Gang or I'm Raw, or both?
The Gang.
Yeah.
The Gang is the one that I was mostly, I was involved with to a major extent.
Yeah. And I heard them horns all through there. You know what
they
I'm saying?
They all through that.
Yeah.
They all up they all up and through that bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a lot of horns going on. So once we kind of grabbed into that, once we locked into that thing, that horn sound, I guess, you know, we just started building on it, doing more of it, because people was going bananas over it. So, okay, you want something else? This we gonna do. You know, we got to the point where I started having School would come to me with some other shit he want with some goddamn horns, right? He'd come to me, the way it worked out, I never liked to be in the spotlight. This is the first interview. I've never done this before. First time I've ever got in front of a camera and talked to anybody.
And I appreciate you for that too, man.
So, by the same token, back then, they go out to the club, I'm at the studio. They go do shows over here, they go whatever they do. I never went nowhere with none of these boys. I would be in that studio all night till the sun come up. At least 2 to 3, maybe 4 nights a week, Big Scoob would come by. And me and Big Scoob be in the studio. Yeah, he don't sleep no damn way, so he just come through there and we just in the studio. He come in there, I'm already in there just sitting down there and we doing whatever, you know? So a lot of times, he'll say stuff, you know? And he'll come and say, hey man, I want something to be like, boom, 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 boom. You know, he'll do some stuff like that, and I say it again, put the phone up. You know, you give me that much, and I'm finna go sit here and I'm finna whip this thing up, you know what I mean? And we gonna jump straight into it just like that, you know?
Yeah.
So that's why I feel like doing custom work is where you start getting your hits, because everybody in the music business has a hit in their head. The problem is getting it out your head and in everybody else's head.
Yeah.
That's where you have to be a master producer, a master engineer. You have to know what you're doing to get that out of that person's head, to make it to where they can hear the same thing that, you know.
Yeah, they trying to portray to you.
Right. I mean, you do it in your business. There's certain cameras will make you look like an actual person, and certain cameras you don't.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same thing. So you got to have the right skill set to be able to create out of a person's head. And, you know, it takes a lot, because you can't just turn something on, turn on a keyboard or whatever sound you hear, which is the way a lot of producers do it. They'll turn on the equipment, they'll press a button, they'll hear a sound, and they'll like that sound. They just keep doing something and they add to that sound. Whereas in this case, what I do is I hear something in my head and I force that machine to emulate what I hear in my head.
Yeah.
I'm not just gonna fall on that sound.
Yeah.
This ain't the right sound, you know. I can have a rapper rap on something, sound good, flawless effort, but your voice doesn't have the right timbre. We need another person to say that part.
Yeah.
You know, that type of thing.
Let me ask you this: when that happens, do you feel like the artist's ego be kind of hit?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had them. I remember when I did Jackie Neal's album, I sat down, I told her up front, I said, look, I'm going to be honest with you now. When you get on the other side of that mic, you might not like how I'm coming at you. You might feel like I'm being a certain kind of way. I only want to get the best out of you. That's it. And I'm going to drive, and I'm going to talk shit, and I'm going to whatever I got to do to get the best, to get what I'm trying to hear out of you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a lot of people get behind the mic, and you know, we only friends when we not working. You know what I mean? That type of thing.
So let me ask you this, because you dabbled in the Southern Soul as well. So how was it working with Jack and Neil and some of them other artists?
Oh, it was great. It was great. Actually, I enjoyed working with doing the Southern Soul. I enjoyed it a whole lot more than I thought I would, because I wasn't really into Southern Soul or blues or anything like that. That wasn't my thing. So, but I did go to the clubs. Whenever she approached me about doing it, I went to the clubs so I could listen and learn and see what they're doing and what's making everybody hop around, right? At the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And also it was a big help because I didn't do that alone. I would do the music, and Tyree, Jackie's brother, was writing the lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
And he would also, from time to time, like add guitar or, you know, something like that to bring that flavor, the actual Southern Soul flavor, which was a very, very beneficial deal for me. You know, it helped out. But I enjoyed it, and I actually started to kind of get into it a little bit more as a genre.
Yeah.
Because I hated that and anybody who listened to it at the time. You know, but yeah, it's totally different. Like right now, I tend to enjoy making stuff like that. You know, I actually got some Zydeco stuff coming out soon, some other Southern Soul stuff coming out, and then of course the other business and where I'm at now is totally different level. So people be seeing me in a different light going forward. You know, like I said, I'm 54 years old. I can't hop around with these youngsters anymore.
Yeah, I think you still can though, man. You know what I'm saying? At least from the production standpoint.
Well, yeah.
You make the sound and make them and still get them going, man.
Yeah, I mean, we can work, but I'd rather work with them.
Yeah.
I'd rather work with them, and because there are things that I can learn, you know, as well, because things are different now. Things are new. Now, I'm not behind time. I have the latest technology in my studio right now, currently, and I stay up with all of that. But the mindset, the state of mind that the youngsters have these days is something that, again, I would have to study. I have to get into how you think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And everything from wokeness to all this other stuff, because I'm old school. I don't vibe with all that, like talking about, you know. I'm not big on the woke thing.
Yeah.
But if I want to be relevant, I'm gonna have to be big on what's public, what's going on.
Yeah.
And, you know, because what I do, I can't season it just to how I like it. I gotta season it for the masses.
Yeah.
It's a numbers game.
Yeah. If you want to continue to make money, you got to know what's out there.
Right.
So look, tell me about the transition from Money and Power to By the Headbang.
So, and that was a pretty interesting transition, actually. I had, I got a call from Magic. And I don't even know how he found me or got my number, because I hadn't spoken to him before that. But he said, hey man, I want to get you to, I'm about to do an album. I want to get you to work on some stuff for me on my album. So I said, all right, cool. He asked me where I was at. At the time, I was at the studio, Money and Power. I mean, if my eye was open, that's probably where I would have been at anyway, right? So he said, he said, I'm in town, I'm headed over there. So I'm like, okay, well, cool. So I'm thinking to myself, Magic's on his way over here. I'm gonna make a beat, so when he get here, I can have something to show him. Because I don't just make beats and have them laying around. I only make beats to order, you know. So I said, well, let me make something. So by the time he came here, I had this beat playing, and he listened to it and said, yeah, that's cool, Shaggy. He called me Shaggy. So, yeah,
that's a Night War thing, huh?
Yeah, from the Night War. So he's saying, yeah, Shaggy, that's straight, man, that's straight. I said, well, you want the beat or nothing? He said, nah, I'll tell you what, man, just what I'm going to do is, I want you to come with me. I'm going to take you to another studio where we got a little more stuff and stuff you can work with. I'm going to put you in a different environment to do this album for me. I said, okay, well, cool then. So later on, maybe a week later, I got a phone call from this lady named Deidre. She ended up being my liaison when I signed. She called me and said, hey, it's going to be a van going to come to your house. Keep in mind, I'm still not knowing how these people know all this shit. How you even know where I live? A van's going to come to my house and pick me up. Okay, cool. So this van comes and pick me up, headed toward Florida. They stopped off in New Orleans, and these 3 girls got in the van. I'm like, what the hell y'all got going on here? It turns out that was this group called Black Ice. I remember them.
Yeah, that was Alley Baby and all them.
Yeah, they got in. So then we all went to the ranch and got up with Roy Jones. But before we got there, we stopped at the hotel. So they had this hotel for all of us. And as soon as I get out the van, this lady's walking up to me all fast and saying, Shonta, how you doing? And these people are talking to me like they've been knowing me forever.
Yeah, you like, who the fuck these?
Yeah, she came in, how you doing? I'm Deidre. She shook my hand, and then she let my hand go and put a check in my hand. Here's a deposit for the album for Magic.
Yeah.
You know, it was, and then whatever you need, let me know what you need. I'm gonna get it for you and put in the studio. So here's the catch. That song that I made for him, that he didn't want because he wanted me to go over here, turned out to be Brown and White. When I got back to the studio, these boys, them ladies around there got hold of the song and recorded on it and put all kind of shit on it.
Yeah.
They were like, full of that brown, full of that. And I'm, you know, I'm like, well, fuck. Let's run that bitch in. Fuck it.
Yeah.
And that's how it goes. Brown and White was actually made for Magic. He didn't want it. And it's just set in the studio. So, you know, we got vultures, we got dogs.
Yeah, they hear the hot track. They about to get that
track. Let's get on that. They just hopped on that bitch.
So look, I don't want to steer too much away from the story because I'm getting to this, but something came up I got to ask you. So what you think about that Slaughterhouse record that pretty much flipped that brown and that white? Like,
so I heard more than that, actually. Probably not the best way for me to look at it at this moment in time, but I'm so straight until I almost looked at it as paying homage or just, you know, something that they did. I didn't get too deep into it. I know that they flipped it and stuff like that. And they're not the only people.
Yeah.
And that's not the only song.
I mean, just that whole synthesizer sound that you did in front of that, that's been used probably hundreds of times.
Yeah, a lot of times. And the thing about it is, it's not something tangible enough for me to
come at them about.
Yes. It would have to be more than just that, right? Like just a drum beat. It's very difficult to do a drum beat that somebody else did, and then they come and sue you for doing that drum beat. That's not.
Because at the end of the day, too, there's only so many ways you can do a drum beat.
You can manipulate the sound, right? I didn't really. It didn't do nothing for me negatively, other than the fact that I'm like, hey, dude, you can't get your own shit.
Yeah.
You know, that's about it. Other than that, that's all. I didn't have no. I mean, I ain't butthurt over it. You know.
Yeah.
Now, there's a certain amount of my shit you can take that'll cause problems for you.
Yeah.
That's just not enough.
Yeah, and I understand that. So, kind of moving back forward, we were talking about, you know, effective for that brown and the whole body headbanger situation. So you want to pick back up from kind of where it left off.
Body head.
Yeah.
Yeah. So working with Magic, first of all, Magic was probably the most recordable person that I've ever worked with. It's almost like in your world you say photogenic, or some people when you take a picture of them they look not as good as they do in person, and some people look better on a photo.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with voices. Some people, the mic picks their voice up, it carries, it resonates a certain way that's more concise than others. But he was one of those kind of people. His voice,
Artists I think is like that on the mainstream level. I think Kevin Gates is kind of like that.
he's probably close to something like that, but nothing near what Magic, the texture of Magic's voice.
Yeah.
Now you have like old school days, B-Lo. Not good recording voice. Very, very difficult to manipulate the energy and the way his sound. The sound of his voice doesn't work well with recording. So, but some people are different.
Some people just got that natural pocket.
Some people got the natural sound. It picks up a certain way. Their voice carries or whatever the case is. But basically working with Magic, it kind of took me to another level with my engineering, because now I have, in my estimation back then, an unlimited amount of resources, because Roy was paying whatever it cost. So basically I ended up being like I'm like the master producer over Magic's album. So every other producer that we worked with had to submit to me. They had to get, their material came to me. I'm like QCing everything.
It was like Beat Doctor and all them was sending beat, was doing beats too, right?
Anybody that's in a beat, it's going through me. And I'm picking through it. I'm making sure the quality's right, because I'm mixing it and all this stuff. So when I mixed the record, I did like a pre-mix to the stuff just so Roy could hear it and whatever. Once that went down and everybody approved on what we was gonna put on the record, Roy sent me and Magic to Atlanta to work with this guy named Joey to do the mix, all the mixing. So I'm mixing stuff from myself. We got Snoop in there. We got some Lloyd. Everybody that was doing it, at the time. But being in that studio, and this is like a 3-story. So this level they mixing, editing. Mid-level they doing mixing where Joe's at. The next level, any vocal tracking they need to do to fix some stuff. All this happening. We locked the whole thing up for 30 days. And it was cold, snow on the ground, I remember. But I learned so much being in that studio, working with Joel and some of the other guys. I also learned how to roll a blunt in that studio too. I never rolled it, but I wasn't good at none of that kind of shit. But from there, after the mix was done, we went to do the mastering. So in the mastering phase of it, Roy just flew me out to California because we mastered that album at Bernie Grumman's in Hollywood. So Roy sent me out there, and I had a hotel that was right around the corner from the studio. And going in there also, I'm just absorbing as much knowledge, because now I'm around all of this high-end stuff and people that are very, very well versed in what they do. And I'm just learning as much as I can from it, and that's kind of like what prompted me to just keep learning more. The more I would learn, the more I would be like, oh, so that's what it is.
This is why they do this. Or
This is why this is that way. This is why my sound could never do this, or this is what causes this. And you wouldn't believe some of the tricks or the trade that they have going on with some of this stuff, man. But they hold it down. They don't disclose a lot of stuff,
The game is to be sold, not told. With them.
So I really put a lot into, being involved with that whole camp, because that's what got me exposed. That's what got me out of Louisiana, basically, and sent me from Atlanta to.
That's what got your connections up, your network.
I was able to deal with A&Rs from different companies and just doing a lot of stuff for different people on a high level, and of course that's basically what prompted me to just go on this quest for getting the best sound I could possibly get.
So explain to me what happened with this album.
Magic? So Magic did not have, I don't know if this is something I need to really, really go into.
You can leave it on the surface level.
Okay, so there was some issues between Magic and Roy. I mean, I'm not gonna get into any kind of details.
Shonta, I think the best way to just say it without going, man, them typical CEO artist issues. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The artist and CEO things just wasn't jiving right, and they ended up kind of parting ways.
Yeah.
Before the album could be put out, so we ended up making another album. I made a second album for them because when they part ways, keep in mind, even though I worked with Chopper and the other guys that was at the camp,
Yeah.
Magic is the one who kind of brought me in. I ended up getting signed over there and all, but when they part ways, Magic was like, man, I'm going to go on ahead and just try to see what I could do. I'm going to move out to Alabama. Man, why don't you come with me? Because at that time, I hadn't been with him for a year, following around, taking care of this, taking care of that with his music. So I am now it, you know. I am his music guy. I am his personal engineer, producer.
You his real producer. You the one that's making them what it is at this point.
So I had a couple of things going on. I had Master P talking to me at the same time, wanting me to come down there with his new thing. As a matter of fact, he put me in the Source magazine. We kind of had little words, but he got mad at me for that because I didn't sign with him even after he put me in the Source.
Yeah.
But we didn't agree to that. I told him, look, man, I just recently signed with Roy, and I ain't trying to, just do that. You know what I mean? I'm not that type of person. I'm more of a loyal type of guy. If I'm with you, I'm with you. Mm-hmm. I'm dealing with you, I'm dealing with you. Now, they got all kind of people around that will make things seem this way and seem the other way, but I'm about the most loyal dude and solid dude that you're gonna work with back in them days for sure. That's why all of the people that had the money would fuck with me, even though they knew I was fucking with that one, this one. They knew one thing. They knew my business is never gonna be disclosed to this one and that one.
Yeah.
So they would deal with me. But there are a lot of people that didn't like that about me, so they would always try to throw shade. And this is how it is, right? This is life.
Yeah.
They didn't work out. I didn't go with Master P, even though he was saying Roy ain't gonna be able to do this for long. He ain't no music guy, he a boxer. His exact words was, I don't care how much money you got, eventually he gonna have to stop the bleeding. And he was right.
Yeah.
IRS came in, and it just so happens I got notice that they was gonna be shutting down Bodyhead.
Yeah.
Well, it was kind of going around the time that Magic was trying to do what he was trying to do. I had reached out to Trio about a month or two before, but they never called me back. And Master P was on the horn. And I ended up building a studio in Mobile, Alabama, Magic. We worked on put another album together. Because the album that he had was dead since the Roy Jones thing didn't work out. So we put another album together, and that was it. I mean, he wasn't around too much longer than that before he died.
Yeah. So what was your move after that?
After that, I had heard some things about Percy that made me question whether or not I wanted to go to California. I'm from Baton Rouge. Trio was in Baton Rouge. I figured, hell, I just go home.
Yeah, just go back to the home team.
Yep, sign with Trio.
So
that was the biggest fuck up of my life.
Yeah.
That was the single most horrific decision I've ever made. It destroyed everything that I had been building up.
So what made it such a bad decision?
The business, the crookedness. It was built on being crooked. They weren't trying to do the right thing. And I saw that. And earlier on, I just count my losses and said, well, it wasn't meant for me to be a fucking producer.
Yeah.
And just walked away from it all,
So basically, that kind of ended the run that you had from that time period.
Correct.
Yeah. So looking back, what would have been the decision you would have made based off everything you had on the table?
At the time, I was working, when I first got to Baton Rouge, I had got a call from this radio personality and street jock. His name was Al, DJ Al.
I remember Al was actually my college professor at one point.
Yeah, he also taught computer science at Southern.
Yeah.
So he wanted to open up a studio. He had come up on a bunch of money, and he wanted to open up a studio, and he wanted me to, go in with it. So I did. I did that, and he was working on that. At the time, I had J. John song going pretty strong.
Yeah.
Right about that same time, I had Tilo song was out. All Day was going pretty strong. And we had got that studio open. I think after about 2-3 months, because they held me up. About 2-3 months, that studio was really popping. And then here they come. They want to, okay, it's time to go to the lawyer now.
Yeah.
But at the time, I had Peter Mon wanted me to work with him.
Yeah.
Master P was still, chomping at it. And then me and Al had that studio. I think the best decision I could have made at that time was to stick it out with Al, develop my own label, and start getting artists and put them together.
Yeah.
And start having $10 million conversations with Warner Brothers my damn self.
Yeah.
That would have been the best idea. Didn't work out that way.
Yeah, but I mean, look, sometimes certain things like that happen for a reason. You know what I'm saying? It leads you into other things that sometimes work out even better than.
Oh yeah. I can't complain about anything because all of it led me to where I am, and I'm not doing bad at all. So
that's a bet. Well, look, I'm gonna go on a quick commercial break, and we're gonna be right back.
To vote.
Oh my God, these wings are so good. It comes from Queen Eats and Royal Treats. Like, they good. What you got?
I got the honey Hennessy.
And I got the original rub or the original fried chicken, and it tastes so good.
Be sure to check them out.
On Instagram, Queen Eats and Royal Treats.
Those are burnt.
Welcome to Centurion Car Care, located at 11857 Florida Boulevard, where we do quality work at an affordable price. We also do paint and body, exhaust work, and any minor and major mechanic work. Best mechanic shop south of the Mississippi.
All right, so we back from commercial break, man. You know what I'm saying? Had to pay some bills, but look, let me ask you a question. What would you tell a young producer? What advice would you give a young producer now to help him progress with his career or just become a better producer?
I would tell him to learn everything involving the business much deeper than just the surface of it.
Yeah. What particular reason why? Is it because of what you went through or what you know now?
Yeah. Well, just from experience and just knowing that if you want to be successful, you need to be, first of all, you need to have multiple streams of income, not just go in and make a beat and that's all you're going to try to rely on. You need to kind of expand and get into, I'm doing audio post now, so I'm doing movie audio. That's with Foley and scoring and the whole 9 yards. Well, that's another stream that I can tap into, and I can tell you right now that business is a whole lot better and more solid and stable than music. You know, you can have, how many times you see some youngster with a drum machine or whatever, Kai, he's making music, and the old folks saying, boy, you need to get you a real job. Say, hey man, what you do? I make beats. You need to get you a real job. Ask a son bitch what they do, and they say, I do audio posts for movies. They're not finna tell you to get a real job after that. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. You already got a real job.
A well-paying job at this.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So look, besides that, let me ask you, what was your hardest, I guess, obstacles being in this music industry?
Myself.
And why was that?
I tripped over my own self because I was so keyed in on the skills and developing skills to where I didn't come up for air long enough to see the other aspects of everything that I needed to be doing and dealing with and handling. There's a lot of business, the music business itself. I didn't put the time into, that as I should have. I put all my time and energy into creativity and forgot that there's a business side to this thing.
Do you feel like most creatives suffer from that? Were they more concerned about the creativity part?
I think most people do. Most people, not only do they suffer from it, they're also victims to it because people prey on the fact that we know this is a new guy. He's trying to break into doing beats, if you want to call it that. He does good shit. Everybody likes what he's doing, but he hasn't done anything yet on a major level. So he is now trying to make a name for himself. Let's capitalize on the fact that that young man is trying to make a name for himself and work the shit out of him for free for years and years and years. That's what we do to producers. All kinds of shit going on. The man never makes a living.
So let me ask you, what do you feel like is your most undervalued talent that you bring to the table when it comes to music?
Undervalued?
Yeah, because there's a lot of stuff you do that a lot of people don't understand. It take a special kind of person or a special kind of skill to bring that out.
That's a hard one. That is a very hard question. I don't know that I have. I think that I'm presented even keel across the spectrum of what it is that I am and what I do to people. So when people come across me, they get up with me, they call me. They don't call me thinking in their minds, I want to get Shonta to do this beat so I can send it to such and such to mix it. Or I need to get anybody want me to mix songs. They also ask me, hey man, you think I can get a track from you too?
Yeah.
So like, I've spent so much time studying until I tried to be pretty, even with my skill set in all areas of what I was doing. So I developed, I think, evenly across the board. So I don't know if I have anything negative to say about anything more than the other. I think my biggest negative thing was just my inability to see business for what it was, business. That was my biggest issue. I think that's my drawback and what I really wish was different coming up.
Look, I got a question for you. This usually a question. My people Doja gonna kill me for this because this is on his show.
Okay.
But since I got you on here, I gotta ask this question.
Come on with it.
Well, who your top 5 producers?
Top 5 producers.
You gotta be in no specific order, but who your top 5?
And you talking about producers in the world?
Hey, look, who is your favorite top 5 producer?
Oh well, so for me, I was big on Quincy Jones and his production.
Okay.
I didn't. I really had a lot of respect for Scott Storch, so he, after we worked on some stuff with Magic together and hearing how he was coming, I had a lot of respect for him. So he's going to be one of those ones. Then there's a guy that probably nobody may know about this guy. It's a guy named Timmy Fingers. He was one of my colleagues at Bodyhead when I signed with Bodyhead. And Timmy, he's amazing. I don't think he's doing it anymore. believe he's doing it at all anymore. But this dude was phenomenal with some of the stuff he would do and the way he manipulated his sound. So,
what caught your attention in reference to him compared to all these other guys you ran across over these years?
So Timmy, he was a real level-headed guy, but the way he tweaked his bass drum, really. It was the way he tweaked his bass drums was something that I was like, how do you get this kind of a sound? And the way it protrudes, the way it comes through. He did something with his kick drums that was just out of this world, you know, and I learned from him. I was hearing stuff that he was doing that I was like, that's what I always wanted to, you know.
Get that out.
Yeah, you know, and then we were colleagues, and, you know, there ain't no hating going on in the camp, right? So we would share with each other and work with each other, and, you know, our studios were tied. So I could send data to his studio, he could send data to my studio. So, you know, we worked together.
Any particular records that he produced that you remember specifically?
I think he did Can't Be Touched.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that was a big one for Roy.
Yeah.
Roy still come out to that song to this day.
Yeah. I think that's that Can't Be Touched. I think that's one of Timmy's.
Yeah, man, look, I follow boxing a lot too. Anytime they do like a boxing highlight reel, they always use that song.
You're gonna hear that one. That's the anthem for him now. So you're gonna hear that.
Yeah, who else you got on this list, man?
From there, man, I guess everyone else, I don't have anybody else that's just sticking out. Everybody else is just falls in subcategories like good, needs work, you know, get a job, that type of thing. So it's kind of that thing, you know, with a lot of the guys that's around here, I spent time working with, you know, all your B-Reels and your Mouse and you know, all these folks. I've worked with all these because, you know, I engineer tracks for these guys as well. So, you know, some of the tracks that Mouse would do back in the days while I was in Louisiana, I'm living here. And all the other guys, you know, we all been cool with each other. So we're producers. We're not artists. We're not gonna shoot each other at the mall, and we don't do that business. You know, we work with each other. We get along with each other. We know we have each one of us have our
people
own
for the most part. So you know, y'all get along because of that common bond.
Right. So it's not about, you know, the ego thing is not running so high with between one producer and the next, like it would from an artist and another artist.
Yeah. So look, if you don't mind, I'm gonna throw a few producer names out there. You tell me what you think.
Go with it.
Manny Fresh.
Oh, I think Manny Fresh, and I'm surprised I didn't even remember him. Manny Fresh, I actually was surprised at some of the things he put together.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was going to be so musical. In the beginning, he wasn't. But then he started getting a little bit more musical, and I think that's one of the things that really set him aside from everything that was going on in New Orleans and other people at the time. Because, you know, Manny's got bass guitars, and he's got, you know...
He got Funky Fingers, and he got Beowulf and all them. You know?
He's doing some stuff that was like, man, you know, and I never met Manny, and Manny never met me. You know, he ended up on that side where he was on the train that went, I wasn't. You know what I mean? But... hey, I thought that was pretty badass how he came in with some actual music as opposed to just synthetic, the whole thing synthesized, you know. So that was a refreshing thing.
So let me ask you, what's your thing with, you know, I guess implement live instrumentation in your music? Do you tend to try to go that way, or you just straight keyboard or drum machine?
I tend to go live. I tend to try to do live as much as I can when it makes sense.
But you do that Southern Soul,
because I'm dealing with Southern Soul and stuff like that. But I also have, like, so I mean, I charge, people complain about what I charge, but bro, I spend the money. Like, I got the most highest end gear, you know, you can get. So if I play a guitar part on a keyboard, you're not gonna know I did it on the keyboard. You know what I mean? If I do horns or whatever I do, if I want you to think this is a jazz band playing this,
you could make it sound
you
like
gonna
that.
believe that it's a jazz band playing it. So I want the authentic sound, I want the real sound in any case that it makes sense and where it will, you know, catapult the song or support the artist better. Sometimes you have to do some off synthesis. I mean, sometimes you're doing certain things, you know, but for me, the music is more musical, more beautiful when you can implement a good mixture with organic sounds and synthesis to come up with something new and spicy, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's just about, for one, the budget of the record. And then
Budget's definitely gonna have something to do with it. Yeah.
And then second thing is, sometimes it's just impossible to duplicate that live when it comes to stuff like getting a bass player who in their pocket. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, a lot of stuff that you deem live is not actually live.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a lot of that going on. A lot of people play like hybrid. You know, they'll have half live and half of it's track.
I done did that myself before.
Yeah.
So
I mean, and it's just part of production. You're gonna see that when you're doing productions. Now, you go do just a show, you might see something live. But the higher end productions, they'll have, you know, like if you go super high end, and you got some professional players out there. You know, you got some serious musicians that's on their shit. So when they go live, bruh, it's what it is, you know.
Yeah. So look, I got a question for you then. Before I ask that, did we go through your top? Well, no, you said the three in there.
I had 3. You brought Manny Fresh in, which I think should qualify for one of the 5.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw another name out there too. KLC.
I like working with. I don't think I mixed one song from KLC, but I have respect for all of these guys, KLC included. I haven't done any extensive studies or dwelling on his work. I just know him to be a good dude, you know what I mean? And with that, I have no shade or nothing negative.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect that though. Yeah, because I mean,
he's just a good dude, and he does good work as well.
Yeah. What about Pimp C? Well, how you felt about his production?
It's different from what I guess. Well, what song are we talking about?
I mean, we could talk about like the Ride Dirty album, you know, Murder, Diamonds and Wood, Take It Off. Cause I noticed he always kind of implemented both some live instrumentation and then, you know,
he had live stuff,
work.
but I don't know if I recall. So I'm not super versed with his work to where I know I can just pinpoint and hear a song that he did in my head.
Yeah.
Pimp C.
Oh, we can just move on from that.
Yeah, you know I'm not super versed with Pimp C and his work.
Yeah. I guess too. Who's some people in Louisiana that you know that stood out to you over the years?
Production wise?
Yeah.
Well, shoot, man. Beat Flipper stood out to me when he started getting into what he started getting into. You know, he was trying to do jig type sounding stuff and all that. Then he got into the soul thing and all that. And I thought that was, I'm like, come on, man. When you can change lanes and you can be versatile, bro, that's got to mean something. So I thought that was refreshing to see that he wasn't stuck. You know what I mean?
Doing the same thing.
Yeah. I heard some Southern soul music that Uncle Funk, I think he calls himself now.
Funk Dog.
Yeah. Funk Dog has got some stuff that he's been working on. Some of the newer stuff that I went by his studio and checked out some of the stuff he's got going on. So, I mean, he's coming up. You know, keep in mind, these are guys that I've been knowing. So when I was in high school, I played trumpet. I was the section leader of the trumpet. Funk Dog was someone under me. He played trumpet as well.
Yeah.
So he went to school with me, and I was on his ass about playing his horn right.
Yeah.
So to see him
transform
to what he is and what he's doing, he's as a grown person, making his mark. I think I saw 1 platinum on his wall when I went in there.
Yeah.
So, man, hats off to all these guys, man, that's doing well for themselves.
Yeah. That's what's up. Man, I ain't gonna lie, bro. We ran it for a little minute. We talked about a lot.
Yeah.
I still got a lot of questions. I know, niggas in the comments go kill me out of ask certain questions. So I'm gonna try to get a part 2 from you, man.
Yeah, we might want to do that because it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
And I feel like a lot, in general, there's so many things people can learn from you, especially young producers, even older producers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
the knowledge of the game, man, that's something that we don't have a whole lot of that here in Louisiana because, unfortunately, we don't move around as much as some of the other places. So for you to see what you done seen and did what you did, I appreciate you coming on this show.
Awesome. Yeah, man. I appreciate you asking me to come out here, man. And it worked out. I just happened to be in town, so it worked out, man. Hey, couldn't ask for nothing better.
So look, before we leave, man, do you do any social media? You got a social media? You want to drop it
So
on
I'm trying to get that kind of stuff going on, right?
Man.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Hey, look, next time you come to town, we going to hook you up, man.
Yeah, I need to get this put together where I can get things right with all that. So my social media stuff, my Facebook page and Instagram and all that stuff, man. I'm 54 in real life, though. Yeah. I really, I gotta pay people to do stuff for me on that level, which I'm actually working on now. Since I'm now starting to do the audio post and doing all the movie stuff. Now I have people hired to build all of my social media thing, and it's gonna be another whole level. I mean, I have a website, of course, but I'm working on getting all that.
Drop the website in there if you want to, man.
ShontaProductions.com.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Yeah. Man, you get this Instagram, they gonna be tearing your DMs up, man.
Yeah. Look, I probably do have Instagram, and my daughter hooked up with me, and I don't even know it.
Yeah.
I think I have, you know what, I do have Instagram.
Man, you might have about hundreds of thousands of dollars in that DM right now.
I wouldn't know it. I wouldn't know it, man. I'm so tied up in everything else.
Yeah.
But anything I do have is going to be Shonta On The Track.
Okay.
So you can find me at Shonta On The Track on Instagram, Facebook, or whatever else they got out there.
Yeah. So look, man, y'all make sure to watch us on, YouTube, Amazon Fire TV, Roku, Apple TV. We everywhere, man. So like I said, I appreciate you once again for coming through, man.
Absolutely.
And we just landed. We out.
10-4.